So this is my intro music.
Oh, isn't that nice? That's beautiful.
All right, so welcome to the Less is More Education Podcast with your host, Steve Flores.
Hello, Steve. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you, Agnes?
Okay. I'm
Great.
okay. Thank you very much. We
Yeah.
have a beautiful weather today, so it's a good time for the interview.
Yeah. The weather's been actually really nice. It's usually really hot and outside, but this past couple weeks has been really nice. Yeah. So I'm here with Agnes Gonzalez, who's the first Filipina elected into the school board in California, right?
Yeah, Rowland Unified School District.
Yeah.
School Board, yeah.
Yeah. And so before we get started, I know you have like a disclaimer.
Yeah, I have a disclaimer statement that whatever I say is my own opinion, and it has nothing to do with the opinions or policies of the school board or the rest of the school board members that I am in the governing board.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I want to hear. It's just like about you
Yes,
and your
thank you.
story and all that. So I wanted to kick off by learning a little bit more about you as a student, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what was your like educational experience growing up? So we'll start off with like as early as you can remember, like what were your experiences in like elementary school or primary school and then in secondary school?
Yes. I grew up in the Philippines. I was born there, so I grew up there, and I started my kindergarten to senior high school in a private school run by MICT Sisters. So it's a Catholic school. So I was brought up really good in I guess you can call it silver spoon or something. But anyway, we have sisters, the Canadian sisters who had taught us at that point in time from kindergarten to, we have seventh grade.
Okay.
And it's matriculation registration is paid by your parents. Nothing is free. Nothing is given by, as far as books are concerned, we buy them.
Wow.
Or my parents buy them. And everything is registered with, with their own funds. So the school does not provide anything, even our uniform down to the last, from our shoes, from head to toe, the uniforms, PE uniforms, everything is bought by our parents, by the family. So because it's more like, kind of like, I would say affluent at that time, because they know that you're in that school because you can afford it.
Oh, I
But,
see. Yeah.
we have public schools in the Philippines, and but they are mostly run by the government, and we have a lot of students who are in the neighborhood that goes to that school. So we have elementary also. We don't have middle school, but we have high schools and colleges, but mostly run by the government.
No. So was it typical at that time to end schooling like at around seventh grade?
Sixth grade.
Oh, sixth grade. Okay.
Yeah, we don't have seventh and eighth.
Oh, okay.
So that's why a lot of the Filipinos, they graduate at age 15, 16, and they go to college at age 16.
Oh, yeah.
Because we don't have seventh and eighth grade.
Yeah.
Because of the financial status of a lot of the students, they try to avoid that, because even though it's government subsidized, they try not to do the seventh and eighth, because they need to go to work faster and help their families, so they can finish high school faster.
Oh, okay. So high school is like a separate thing that people can attend to, but not everyone goes to?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Actually, to be honest with you, my father is one of them. He only graduated sixth grade,
Okay.
and my mother went to college as a nurse. But my father was fortunate enough to be blessed with a good investor, and so he made good. And he is my hero, because as a sixth grader, he did good in his life financially, and he subsidized and he supported the family with good financial. He got lucky, in other words. I
Yeah.
guess it's a destination sometimes,
Yeah.
and I know there's a lot of people that, especially in the showbiz world, they say, oh, I've only done up to high school, but they became millionaires,
Yeah.
So it's a destiny as well. But going back to education, we have the sisters. We can't even, in our school, as a kindergarten to grade 6, we can't even speak our language.
Really?
Because it's a Canadian run MIC sisters, they want us to learn how to speak English.
Really?
Yes. So we get fined at the school when you speak Tagalog. One Tagalog word, you get fined.
Wow.
So it's a way of saying, that's why a lot of Filipinos who are brought up in the Catholic schools know how to speak English fluently, because that's the way it was. But I guess the system had changed from when I immigrated here, because they changed, even the books, they changed to Tagalog.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so for me, as a personal opinion, that's not good as well, because when they come and immigrate to other countries, it's like you need English as a second language.
Oh, as opposed to growing up with
Yeah.
it.
So when I finished, I did 7th grade. So a lot of my friends who left the school, but in order to stay in that school, you have to attend a 7th grade before you reach freshman, sophomore, the high school
okay.
days. So I was there for like 12 years. And then I went to college at University of Santo Tomas, and I took Commerce College, which is business administration. But my aim is to go abroad and see the world. So I asked my father if I could go to college, first in London, in Oxford, but the weather was very hard for me to take
Oh, yeah.
because
I
it's
bet.
too cold and I don't have relatives there. So I went here because my father's family lives here in Whittier, California. And so they said, okay, we'll check into UCLA and USC to see if we can put you in the school. And so after 2 years at University of Santo Tomas in the Philippines, I told my dad, I want to graduate and see if I can help you in your business, which is the jewelry business. So I went to, well, my uncle did everything he can. He said, oh, you can be an international student here.
Oh, wow.
So I was a foreign international student here, but UCLA was not accepting at that time, so I went to USC.
Oh, okay.
But I had to pay quite a few amount of money. USC is not
Yeah.
free, and it's not a Cal State. So my father was able to sustain afford that, and so I said, "Please, can I please go?" And I did Bachelor of Science in Business
Okay.
because I wanted to help my family in the jewelry business. And then I went to Gemological Institute of America in Santa Monica to have a degree in diamond grading
Oh,
and
wow.
precious stones, because that's where my family's business is,
Okay.
in the jewelry business.
Wow. Wow, that's very interesting. Yeah. So I know later on you wound up at Nogales High School. How did that happen?
Okay, I got married.
Okay.
So my destination is here. I was going to school at Gemological Institute of America, and of course we have parties and stuff. And my husband I met, who happens to go to college at Long Beach State,
Okay.
Long Beach, and so we met, and Live happily ever after. I
Okay.
guess
Very cool.
so I did not go back and help my family with the jewelry business at
Oh,
all.
so the plan
So
was to
I
go back to the
plan
Philippines?
is to go back
Oh.
after acquiring the education here in gemology,
Mm-hmm.
which only a few people has in the Philippines.
Oh, I see.
So that's why my father agreed. Okay, go back.
All right.
And he told me, if I known that you're not coming back, I would not have agreed
Oh
for you to go to
no.
college. But anyway, so I met my husband and I married, and I said, okay, I'll just go see if I could work here.
Yeah.
And I did. I I went it's too close to home, and there was a job opening, and I
Yeah.
did it, and I interviewed. When you interviewed for a public entity, there's like five different people
Yeah.
interviewing you here and there. So I had like three. Fortunately, I was hired at Nogales High School, and I loved it. And I love education. I
Mm-hmm.
see the high schools every day,
Yeah.
their
Helps keep you young, right?
interaction
Yeah.
keeps you young. The pep rallies, the band, you hear the band when they practice.
Yeah.
So it's like being a teenager all over again, and I
Yeah.
like it. I like the teachers. I like interacting with the teachers, with the students, their activities on a daily basis, and just being around them makes me happy. It fills my day with good vibes, with good
Yeah.
positive things.
Awesome. So that was like a really interesting journey that you had, right? Like going to the Philippines and then coming or growing up in the Philippines. I saw a lot of like parallels because I actually went to Catholic school as well here.
Oh,
And I remember having the exact same experience where you have to pay for everything. So we had to pay for our uniforms, for our books, for, even our locker, like locks themselves. And yeah, and getting fined for, having your
yeah.
shirt untucked and all that. I remember that very vividly. So that was cool. And I grew up in Whittier. So there's like
Oh,
another similarity right
oh,
there.
wow.
Yeah. So it was like, wow, a lot. That's cool to find out when you have things in similarly. So I had a like more specific question to you, which is, do you in your time like getting your education, was there ever a time where you felt like learning was effortless, like you really enjoyed it, or you really like didn't feel like it was a work?
At USC, when I first started, it was a lot of challenges because I was an international foreign student, and there's a lot of international foreign students that I deal with at USC. So college was huge because where I was, there's probably, when I was attending high school, there was only 20 of us.
Mm.
Although college is huge then, the classrooms are not as huge because I guess it's very expensive to go to USC. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. A lot of my classes were very minimal colleges, and there's no virtual then.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember this one class, there was like five of us, and I thought they were gonna close the class.
Mm-hmm.
As it turned out, on the finals day, there was like all these football players
No.
because it was a marketing major, so they are all marketing majors. So
Wow.
that's why I was like, "Oh, you're the football player." So
Yeah.
I was really surprised by that. But they go to classes once in a while.
Okay. Maybe they're getting
So
like tutored or
the
something.
the challenging part of it was just a culture difference.
Mm-hmm.
There's just too many things to learn. Um, you walk so much distance to go from one classroom to the other, carrying, and I don't have a car, so that's very challenging for me.
Yeah.
And the learning process, because you have to go to the library. We didn't go to the library when I was in the Philippines. We don't do tutoring. We have tutoring and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But being in college, you learn on your own. because there are times where you really don't have to go to class. You just read the book.
Yeah.
The professor just tells you, okay, this is the chapter you need to know. And, and having theses and stuff, you do a lot more research. So it's very hard. That was the challenging part for me. And I don't know where to reach out for help. I guess I could have if I've known. And the counselors are not, for me, reachable enough because you have to make an appointment. I'm not used to that at that point in time because when I was in high school, I could just go to my teacher and ask, So that's the most challenging for me. But learning is good because I learn more. I did not expect that in business and in accounting. And it's a self-learn for me.
Okay.
Because you have to work on your own. You will have to work harder on your own because nobody will help you or tell you, do you need help? Unless I guess you really need to ask help from somebody. Fortunately, I was able to be in a group with Filipino American Troy Philippines. We call ourselves Troy Philippines.
Okay.
So I was able to reach out to them. So they were able to tell me where to go, what to do, like reach out to the professors by appointment.
Yeah.
To me, that doesn't happen in the Philippines. So it's totally different process.
Yeah. So you had a support group there.
Yeah, I have a support group because they're friends and I can speak to them in Filipino. We get together and we study together, but we have different subjects, like some of
Like
them
majors,
are
yeah.
majors, engineers, nurses, medical office, medical. And of course, I'm in business. So we try to help each other whatever we can for the general studies or general courses that we need to take. And also, I was able to have some international foreign friends. At that time were Iranians who I taught English.
Yeah.
So I tutored them how to speak English.
Wow.
So I was able to make money from that. And then I also learned how to be a secretary to one of the professors at USC because of that support group that I have. They know that I'm international student. I don't make money and all that stuff. So he said, you can work for this professor for 3 hours. That's a big help because I was able to interact with the professors, with his students, with the staff at the USC Engineering School. And then, of course, we have a lot of projects that we did with Troy Philippines. So I don't know if I'm answering your questions, but that's pretty much it because of the challenges that I have at USC. It was very difficult for me, adjusting the culture.
It seems like you were like dropped in with and you had to figure it out yourself.
Yes.
But in the process of figuring it out yourself, you found that with the help of a local community that you were able to succeed.
Yes.
Is that right? Yeah.
Big support.
Yeah. And so do you in that time, did it feel like being dropped in that situation was beneficial to your learning? Or do you feel like if you had more supports, let's say you had done your schooling back in the Philippines where things weren't so strange, where you didn't have to see a different culture and all that, and would that have been a little bit easier?
Well, I'm a disciplined lady, woman. So I'm a very strong-willed woman. So I learn that I can do things on my own.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But it's very, it takes challenges. But if you push yourself hard and long enough, you can do it. And I was always prepared to finish. When I start something, I want to finish. I don't give up. I always want to make sure that I'm there and I do the best I can to find the resources for me to be able to accomplish what I was there for.
Yeah.
And at that point in time, of course, to finish college, which is I the thesis alone is like mind-boggling to me. I didn't know where to start, what to do, because I didn't have anybody to help me on that.
Yeah.
But fortunately, I have, you always have friends, and
Yeah.
my professor wasn't reachable enough because I don't know, the appointments are not always available. But doing the thesis and doing research, that's really very challenging for me. But when I found out I can do this, and I told myself, I will do this, I will finish, I will bring home the
Yeah.
diploma to my family of what they expect of me, then every single day, even though it's a challenge, it's also rewarding
Yeah.
because I accomplished something. I did it.
Yeah. Was that, do you feel like that motivation was coming from within you, or do you feel like that was coming from the expectations of your family?
Both within me, but knowing my father as a hero, my God, he's only in sixth grade, yet he did good financially
Yeah.
on his status and supported the family, um, and we grew up good, um, learning the ropes, being sent to a good education, being able to travel the world, and his education did not stop him, because he was able to do good on his life and supporting his family. So that motivation with knowing that my father, even though has no education yet did it, what about me who was given this opportunity to go
Yeah.
to college at USC of
Yeah.
all colleges here in California? At any choice of any choice of college that I want, and not do good, it's not acceptable to me. So the motivation with my dad and my mother, and of course the family being the oldest, I have to show an example
Hmm.
that I can do this. That if, I can be. Although my mother was a college graduate, but I can also, be the graduate and be an example to my siblings as well.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So again, some parallels, because I was the same way. I was the first one in my family to like go to college and graduate and do all that, and
Oh,
I was the
good.
oldest as well.
Yeah,
So
that's good. Congratulations.
yeah, but it yeah, it does seem to be like a pattern of, all right, there was an environment that you were put in that was kind of
Correct.
set you up to like foster the idea of like, oh, this is the kind of standards I should hold myself to, and I can see it. I can see it in my father. I can see in what he was able to do. If he's able to do that, then I should be able to do that as well, right? And
Right.
or maybe even like do more, and there's no option, I guess, to fail there.
And growing up in the Philippines, seeing the different economic status of,
Oh yeah.
education is very important. Education is par excellence. If you reach a higher education, especially higher education, you do well in your means of livelihood, financially, social status, emotionally,
Mm.
and you could provide for your family the best life. And I was able to say that to myself and prove to myself because I love to travel. And so my father was able to let us go all over the world. Even when we were in sixth grade, or you go to Hong Kong and just to go shopping for the
Wow.
weekend,
Yeah.
things like that. So it's a good life, but and I don't want to lose that. I want to make sure that I continue that. And also my family, let me go back. My family is known philanthropists in the Philippines.
Mm.
So during the Christmas season, we feed 2,500 families, destitute families, and
Wow.
give them their Christmas dinner. And we have been doing that for 52 years. My
Wow.
parents passed, but the legacy has been continued by my siblings in the Philippines. It's in Gagalangin, Tondo, Manila. Um, so we have a lot of people that we continue to help and feed uh, during Christmas holidays. They used to do it with my dad's birthday and my mom's birthday, and then Christmas, and then also feeding 1,000 kids who are street kids. You
Hmm.
know, they live in the street, and we'll go to them and we'll feed them for Christmas or any night that my parents would go, any day
Hmm.
that she feels like, oh, I saw it in the news. There was this kid who was hungry, so we'll go feed them. So I wanted to continue that, and education is key, and so we can provide education to these students also. So once in a while, I bring I send a box of whatever school supplies I can grab and go and save and send it over to the Philippines so that I can help some of the students as well
Yeah.
with their school supplies, because I know how it was not to have a pencil, not to have a pen when we visit the squatter areas. Uh, on my when we were doing some fundraising for the MIC teachers,
Mm.
we'll go to the squatter areas and the kids don't have food or don't go to school because they can't afford it. And so we'll bring them a book, coloring book, anything that can help them learn to read and to write. So that's we continue that legacy. My with my dad and my mom's passing, we've been doing it for 52 years. They passed on our 49th year, but my siblings and I had continued that legacy
Oh, that's very
to
cool.
help.
Yeah. So that I guess philosophy of giving, does that do you feel like that played into, like, let's start shifting over into like your decision to run for school board? Was it like the same sentiment?
Uh, well, not really, because I can go. Okay, I can go back again to the Philippines because my family is also in the political business.
Oh,
My
okay.
uncle is the uh, justice of the Supreme Court.
Oh, wow.
Two of my cousin and my uncle and his, I guess, grandpa, you can call, they're justice of the Supreme Court. Some of them are undersecretary of agriculture in for the presidents. So my family is also very, very active in the political world, but we do undersecretary. One of them is a secretary of state,
Mm.
but they're cousins. They're not like siblings or
Yeah.
family, close family. But my father helps them with their political campaigns and stuff like that to maintain our name um, in in the political world. So, having said that, my even my grandfather was vice mayor of one of the cities and towns
Oh,
where
wow.
my father grew up. So I guess we have that political
Uh,
spirit in me.
yeah.
So being a school board, let me take you back. When I was going when I was working at Nogales, I hear a lot of stuff that a lot of teachers need, and a lot of, I used to do the budget for
Hmm.
Nogales High
Yeah.
School. So I always heard their needs, and I've always heard what they want. Uh, why is it this and why is it that? So they're not satisfied, they want more, and they're not given more. So I said, don't worry. I live in the district. I will become a school board. And I promised them, hopefully it will make it better for you, because I understand what you're going through as a teacher, as a classified employee, as a custodial, as a security guard, as a campus aid officer, even administrators. I hear their pain. And so for me, I said, maybe when I retire, I will do a little bit of help. And
Yeah.
that's a way of helping, because you're that voice that can make a difference. And I've always wanted to make a difference in my life, to to people's lives, to their livelihood, to the students who go to school at the 20 schools that we have. I want to make their life better. I want to make their learning better. I'm only one voice, but I can make a difference, and I know I can do it. And I
Yeah.
think I'm doing it. I'm doing a good job, and people are happy. Hopefully, I know that they are, but because they say so. But I hope that I continue to be a model to them, and be able to be that leader that will make a difference in their way of life, in their way of learning. As a matter of fact, we just came from the school board, California School Board Association, and the district got a Golden Bell Award for College Connect. We were able to
Cool.
send 200 plus kids to college who are who don't have the means, with scholarship only.
Hmm.
And we were able to push them and help them apply and get into college, even though they're scared at first. So that College Connect helped them. Uh, the first step to be able to get into higher education.
Hmm. Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
got Golden Bell for that just last December 1st.
Oh, very cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's something to be proud of. So let's start talking about the school board, because one of the questions that I have is like, what's the difference in terms of like the role of a school board versus the role of the state, right? So how do you see those two roles, like in terms of like what their duties are?
We go by, like I said, this is my opinion as a school board, myself, nothing to do with the rest of the governance board or the district.
Hmm.
We make policies, and the agenda that's presented to us, we study them and we make sure that they're good for the students, the community, and the school district. We do. And so we were given all this agenda that needs to be changed, needs to be approved, the policies, and we do it to run the school district in a smooth process,
Hmm.
because we want to make sure that the teachers are happy, the students are happy, and the learning process is given to us by the state that we comply with them. So there are state policies that we have to abide, and so we have to go with that and learn to follow them and comply with them. So that's the
Hmm.
difference of state policies and given to us at the board. There are still decisions that we have to make solely only for the district, but we
Hmm.
have to also comply with what the state policies ask of us, for every school district
Hmm.
in the whole in the whole state of California.
Hmm.
And so by abiding that LCAP, we have different committees that does that, and it gets presented to the board. Once it gets presented to the board, then we study it. We study the agenda. We make sure the policies are within the school district's policies, and we're within the guidelines.
Hmm.
So we don't make up something that's not um, acceptable to the state policies. We always have to comply with them.
Okay. So it sounds like the state makes the
Yes.
policies and then you guys enforce them. Like so that uh so what's the incentive there? The incentive is so that you can continue getting support from the state?
Yes.
Yeah.
Financially, of course, grants and budget wise,
Hmm.
we make sure that our enrollment is up to par. our teachers are happy,
Mm-hmm.
meaning they're
Yeah.
paid, they're compensated well, their cost of living, even our classified employees. We make sure that the district is insolvency financial status is in a good financial status.
Oh,
So by
okay.
complying with the state, it means that they're giving you grants and and based on the enrollment that we have.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to make sure that we keep our students in attendance,
Mm-hmm.
and we are good with the teachers. The teachers are happy with, with
Mm-hmm.
what is it, minimum
Like
students,
student
yeah, class
sizes. Yeah, class sizes.
sizes.
Yeah.
Not all the time, because sometimes there are conflicts that we can't do all the time, but we still try to make sure that everything is properly done
Yeah. Does that happen
as a school
often
board.
where
No,
there's like conflicts between like states saying this and but the teachers need this?
of course, there's always conflict. We don't always agree,
Mm-hmm.
but that's why there's a school board,
Mm-hmm.
so that we are kind of like the overseeing committee. We're the part that says, hey, this is not right, or this is right. This is what the teachers want. This is not what the teachers want. This is
Mm-hmm.
what the students need.
Mm-hmm.
So the school board, as a school board, it makes me happy that I can make a difference to the lives of the students in their learning process.
Mm-hmm.
In every day that they go to school, we want to make sure they're safe.
Mm-hmm.
We want to make sure that they learn. We want to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that they have the tools they need, the books they need, the computers, the things like that.
Mm-hmm.
The even to the last pencil, to the last pen,
Mm-hmm.
so that their learning experience runs smoothly. And we want to make sure that we have a safe environment for them. So we have campus aides, and we have teachers' aid that help us teachers. We have attendance clerks that make sure that these students are in class. There's little things, but it adds up.
Mm-hmm.
As a whole, as a team, you do good, because it is teamwork from the school board, the community, of course, the school board, and then we want to make sure the parents know what's going on in the school. So we have that communication with the parents.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So to go back a little bit earlier, um, is there any communication going? Is all the communication from the state to the school board like coming in that direction, or is there any times where the school board will decide to like ask a question of the state and go like, all right, like you're asking us to do this, but we find that this might not be best for our school district. Like, is there any
We
leeway that we can have?
we don't do that, because as a school board, we only make policies and stuff. We have personnel that does that. So
Oh.
we try to tell the people that works for the school district, employees,
Mm-hmm.
superintendent, assistants, deputy superintendent,
Mm-hmm.
what is it that the state wants, and they tell us. They upgrade us. They update us on what's needed in education.
Mm-hmm.
They update us on interim financial status. So that's there, and they present it with the
Mm-hmm.
agenda at the school board meetings. So we don't necessarily have to do the task,
Mm-hmm.
to do the footwork. They're the ones as employees that does that, and they present it to the school board.
Gotcha.
And as a school board, we sometimes we argue, sometimes we agree, we disagree on some stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but we make decisions based on what we know that is presented to us by the staff at the
Mm-hmm.
district office, and then what's presented to us from the state, because
Mm-hmm.
they're the ones who gets all the information, and then they give it to us. So
Gotcha.
We don't communicate directly
Mm-hmm.
with the state,
Oh, okay.
but
Yeah. Yeah. I was wondering like where, like how the communication and stuff worked
no,
at the school board
no,
level or the
no.
district level.
We get some articles and stuff, but we don't. And then when like let's say I'll read something about ethnic studies, I'll send it to uh, the assistant superintendents or the teachers or a committee or the curriculum superintendent. What is going on with this?
Mm-hmm.
You know, but our information is coming basically from just articles we read on our own, but we don't call or do the calling to the specific people. We make sure that our staff at the district office does their work, and then they they in turn feed back to us what we need, with the information that we need.
Yeah, to make decisions.
Yes, and there's our district has very, like I said, this my personal opinion, but I am very happy to announce that we have very good communication with the district cabinet. They are one of the best. Uh, I, of course, I work there, but I have no complaint. Um, and there are times where we agree to disagree and we argue, but we always make sure that our decisions are for the students,
Gotcha. Yeah.
for the teachers, for education,
Mm-hmm.
for safety. Nothing else. It has nothing to do with leadership or our own personal agenda. That's why we are a good teamwork, because we talk and we communicate the best way we know how to resolve the problems. And there are problems. There are many problems on a daily basis, actually.
Yeah.
But it's communicated to us, and we solve them. If we can't solve them there's a process that we do. You know that. You've been a teacher at Nogales, so
Yeah. There's a lot of processes.
yeah.
Just keep it that way. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of meetings, there's a lot of stuff that
a
happens.
lot, yes, a lot
Yeah.
of meetings.
In the background. Yeah. That I feel.
And parents don't know that.
Yeah.
Sometimes they just thought, they're back to school night and report card night. They come and talk to the teachers. They don't know behind the scenes what the teachers do, the lesson plans. Oh, but you're only here till 2:00. They don't know that that 2 or 3:00. They don't know that after school they do their lesson plan. There's a lot of behind the scenes, and so it is for a school board. It's like people just thought, oh, you're just doing the meeting agenda and all that. They don't know that we get phone calls. If somebody's not happy, we get complaints. So we communicate with the superintendent, assistant superintendent, and we try to solve whatever the differences are, or whatever the problems are arising on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. But overall, it's very rewarding because I am so happy, and it gives me contentment and happiness that I serve the students, and all these rewarding things that we get for the students. The best part of it is at the graduation, when you hand the seniors their diploma.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so heartwarming. That is the best reward I can say as a school board member.
Yeah.
When I go to back to school night, parents night, and a concert, just the activities that the students do.
Yeah.
A drama club presentation. But the best part is when you have this, like the Golden Bell, and of course when you hand them their diplomas,
Yeah.
and know that for the 12 years they've been at the school district, they have a future to hold.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're part of that. I'm part of that.
Yeah. 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 Any interaction with the students themselves, that was my favorite part, you
Yeah.
know?
Oh, as a teacher, yeah.
Yeah. And, it was a big sacrifice to leave, you know? Yeah. But, let's, want to ask a little bit more about like the decision making process. Cause I know sometimes you have to like make decisions, and you try to use like the idea of, all right, whatever's best for the students. And one of the things I found out as a teacher was I would see, and I don't think you were in the school board at the time. Were you in the school board at the time of like when COVID hit and we locked down and all that?
The last part of it.
Yeah, the last part of it, but not
2021.
in the beginning, right?
No.
Yeah. In the beginning, I would see all these like decisions that the school board would make, and I'd be like, I don't see how this is helping out the students very much, right? And when I got an opportunity to actually talk with the students, when I got to see the effects on their education, when I got to see like one of the things that I had a question on was, or one of the things that I was seeing as a result was policies enacted by the school board negatively impacting the students, but there was this through line of doing it for compassionate purposes, right? So it seemed like the intention was good, but the decision that was made was not so good for the students. So let me give you an example. I actually interviewed a student that was going through this, and he was a good student. He was like a I would say like a B student. You know, he definitely tried. When he was in subjects that he really enjoyed, he really liked it and put full effort and would get A's and and try to get like above like at least a B in other classes. But when I was talking to him, like for example, one decision that was made by the school board at that time, right, was your grade cannot drop below what it was at the time when we left, which I think was like March 13th or so of 2020.
2020,
Yeah,
correct.
right. And
I was there at the meeting with the Nogales staff.
Yeah.
I was still a Nogales employee at that
Yeah,
time.
yeah. The timeline's right. Yeah. So I saw that and I was like, this is not gonna work out well for the student. Like I see the compassion behind it, right? Like the students shouldn't be punished for that. When I interviewed the actual student, the student was saying, well, like as soon as I found out that, what I just decided to do was to only go to the classes where I had a low grade. So if I had A's in like my math class and my English class, but I have like a D in chemistry, I'm just going to go to chemistry because what are they going to do to me with those other classes, right? And then that set back his education, right? Was that making that decision? But I could see like multiple instances where a policy would be enacted and then the students would interpret it in this way where they could take advantage of that, right? And so I understand like the compassion that came with it. Like that component, like I for sure think most people in education are compassionate and really care about their students and are trying to do well by their students. But I feel like that compassion has to be balanced with something higher than that to make sure that the students not only like are just getting like leeway, but are also still being held like accountable at some level, right? Yes. And so how do you make those decisions where like you're like where you're not trying to just focus on compassion as being like the primary driver behind all decisions?
Okay, there is no manual.
Yeah.
And especially when COVID hit, everybody's new to it. It was like the world changed.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point in time, we don't know what to do. You don't know what to do.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I don't know what to do. So there is always that decision that we make that may not always be the perfect decision, but it is the right decision at the time. I think that compassion has to do a lot with the decisions that we have, the empathy that we have for the students, because we hit their emotions, their mental illness, their mental wellness,
Yeah.
their social life. There are growing students, there are growing people. They do not know. If, as an adult, that hit us with this COVID, not knowing what to do, what more with them. So that's just a challenge for everybody as a guide. And I think the decision that was made for that is to make sure the students are not left out with their learning loss, with their learning process, because it's still up to them. And the teachers, COVID hit everybody
Yeah.
with a slam bam, and we don't know what to expect. We don't know how long it will be. We don't know, when they said closure of school, that was a shock for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, and I'm glad I'm not a school board then, but it was very difficult when I got into the school board and we still have COVID. I almost quit because I did not know the process and I did not know what to do. And I tell you, I'm a human being and my heart is in the right place, but making the decision for the students for their future is the hardest thing to do in this COVID era. But we have to do the best decision that we know how. Sometimes it's not the right and decision for the students maybe, but at the point in time that we were given the data, we were given the things that we need to do for them at that point in time, we do the right decision, we do the right thing for them. Sometimes it's not right for someone. We can't please everybody. But at the end of the day, as a school board member, when I make the decision and I can sleep soundly, I know I did the right thing. Because of there's no manual that tells us, oh, you have to do this, you have to do this. It's just presented. Everything is done as the need arises, as the problem arises, because it's new to everybody, from the students to the teachers to the parents, even the parents and the community, the governing board, the cabinet, the employees, everybody at that point in time, it's like waiting to see what's going to happen next. But when we make decisions, we always center on what's best for the students at the time. Like you said, it may not be best for that one student, but what about the other student, that you have not spoken? It may be good to them. And so we don't know that. So they try to communicate with us, and we do studies. And we have counselors that get in touch with we have different people that work at the district, so they know their job at that point in time, what's best for the students. And we weigh those, we get those data, and then we base our decision. And sometimes we agree, sometimes we disagree, because there's 5 voices. I'm but one voice.
Yeah.
So I do the best I can with the data that I have to make that decision. But then, like you said, I'm not a school board member at the time. But knowing the facts from what it was, it's a rude awakening for everybody.
Yeah.
There's no manual for it. So it's so easy to say, this decision was not good. It's so easy to say that as a community, but we study. We just don't make decisions yay or nay. We study the facts.
Yeah,
we get presentations from the counselors, from the teachers, even the student body. We just don't say yes, as and I'm proud to say that.
I think you're making an important point that, like, there's a humanity here, right?
Correct.
And, humans, we don't always make the best decisions, and it's easier to see things in hindsight and all that. And yeah, and I think there's a lot of validity to that, right? It's very, especially in a novel situation like that, a new situation where nobody's ever gone through that
Yes.
before. Like mistakes are going to be made and everything. Um, there, there's a couple of things that me as a teacher wish would have happened in those moments that didn't happen, that I saw a lot of my coworkers I kind of like having grief about. And this is the other aspect of it, is that I see some teachers that just get upset, but they don't do anything
Did
with
you
that,
communicate with
right?
anyone on whatever it is that you have?
Yeah. At that moment in time, I personally did not, right? And
Oh,
that to me is like a failure on my end, right? Is that I should have been more forceful in saying like, hey, I don't think this decision was correct, or I don't think this is like, and making an argument for myself, right? And then trying to build up, like maybe like a coalition of people that would have
correct.
that same mindset and present it like in a
And
in a in a
and as
calm
a school
way.
board who makes a decision, we wouldn't know if nobody communicates with
That's
us.
right. Yeah. Yeah. And and
So
that's, yeah.
communication is the key. We listen. We are just voices for you. We listen for your needs. We are there for the teachers,
Hmm.
for the community, the students. We are not there for us. And sometimes it's very frustrating because they always think we're doing it for our own agenda. We listen.
Hmm.
When we have the board meeting, there are people who speak, and we listen and we make this decision based on that. At the closed session, we argue because not many of us, not all of us, will agree to the same things with the decisions. But overall, we accept each other's opinion and we weigh the problems before we make that decision. And the best way to do that is to communicate with us. Because if we do not know, we cannot make the right decisions.
Yeah. Yeah. And and that's why I think it's a two-way street,
Correct.
right? It's not just the school board making decisions, it's also the responsibility of the people that feel like they are aggrieved or that feel like there's an injustice being done to also speak up. And yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I think you're highlighting something really important, that if people feel like something bad is happening in the district, it's okay to
Talk.
bring that up. It's okay to talk, to actually go to a board meeting. And if you
Yes.
can't go, maybe like ask one of your colleagues, or even ask a union rep, because they're always willing to listen, and just bring them in and going like, hey, this is the thing that I'm seeing as a problem. And that's, I don't know how you could encourage that, other than like just grabbing a colleague and saying like, hey,
Yeah.
how are you doing?
And sometimes, like you're reaching out to me through an email. There's so many ways to communicate.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So I try to visit the schools. And so sometimes the teachers are there and they'll say a little something and you know, contact, people contact. For me, just being able to see the people, being with the people, um, being with the teachers, with the students, even on their being visible,
Hmm.
knowing that you are approachable. You are there for them. I'm not there for me. I'm
Yeah.
there for them. And it is my job to make sure that everybody is happy and everybody knows their situation, that I know the situation they're in if they're not happy.
Hmm.
Um, I can't please everybody. I'm not going to tell you that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I make the best decision that I know what's best for the school.
Hmm.
And that's always been at the back of my head. What I always say, what if this is the situation? What if this is the situation? But we try to do the best policy we make, the best decision we make. And overall, I'm happy to say I think
Yeah.
people are happy with my leadership. So
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so one of the we're gonna go into like more of like a state level thing, right? Because based on my experience and one and the research that I've been doing, especially these past 4 months, into like how the state operates and runs policies and things. One of the things that I found kind of troubling was that the state itself doesn't have a set like purpose for education. And I think because of that, well, one of the things that I see is that policies will come, they'll change everything, and then the people running that will go, and then new people will come in, and then they'll change everything, and then it feels very frenetic, when it comes to like the experiences of a teacher. And for me as a teacher, I started to feel like, oh, I'm getting less and less control in my classroom, to the point where I'm like, oh, okay, this is not really worth it for me to do anymore. And maybe there's something I can do about it. So I'm going to like use my voice to try and figure out what that is. So I thought about, and I emailed a lot of like academics, and used my own experience and talks with other teachers to come up with a purpose for education in California. And I wanted to know like what your opinions were of it, right? And so the purpose that I had come up with was to holistically develop young people to realize their passions and take the lead in their own lives so that they may take responsibility for themselves and contribute to their local community. Like, if the state adopted that as a purpose for education, would you say that that's like a good, bad, like, is there anything that it's missing?
that's a good outlook on education. I've never heard that before, but we still have education is an institution. Unfortunately, it's run by administration, like any administration in the political world.
Mm-hmm.
When one changes, when one is over and won the election, policies are changed, and that's what democracy is about. Unfortunately, but we have to abide, and as long as we're doing the laws according to the goodness and the improvement of education, and it's always change is always good. Change is, for me, the more change you have, the better it is for your upbringing and learning process.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to accept that. And I know sometimes it's hard to say. We tend to be more democratic, be more aggressive in a lot of stuff. To me, that's a little bit more aggressive. But yes, if that is your idea, that is good. And you are doing the right thing because you have this podcast to make sure that it gets reached to a lot of people. And the more people you reach, the more you'll get to this goal
Mm-hmm.
to be able to do the students of this holistic or the community involvement. But education is still an institution. We still have to be able to have a school district, schools, and teachers that will guide the students on a regular basis, on a daily basis. We still have to have lessons. We still have to make sure that we're in compliance with the state. I still don't agree with a lot of the things that change, but that's how the democracy works. It's unfortunately,
Yeah.
you
I
know.
mean, like, I guess here's the counter idea to that is, we can say that this is how democracy works, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in California, I'm not I'm not sure where like the democracy part is coming in, because to me, in a democracy, what you would have is a bunch of people who
Mm-hmm.
have their own ideas, and they present those
Mm-hmm.
ideas to the public, and then the public looks at those ideas and then decides, all right, we think these ideas are the best, we're going to promote this person up taking on this job, right, or taking on this role. In California, we only have one real party that is kind of like running everything, right? And that's the Democratic Party, and then and that's very leaning left, and yeah, and then there's no like the counter to that, the Republican side or the more conservative side has like a very tiny voice. So first off, that limits our ability to call, to really say like this is democracy, because we have one really loud voice, one small voice, and there's no like in between to all of that, right? So we need more voices is basically what I'm saying.
Correct. But I'm asking it back to you. How do you change that? What idea do you have? As far as ideas are concerned, as as somebody who is aiming for this goal, can you tell me the idea? I'm going back and leaving the question to you, because I don't have an answer for you right now, because and that's being honest, because education, we lean towards what's been done in the past history. So we just go from year to year to year to year. We change some, but not a lot. So I'm just, my answer to you is, I really have no idea, but your goal is so creative, and I like it. I like to hear it. But how do you make a committee? Do you make sure that you have a committee of people that can do that can start that from statewide, from the state of California of education?
Yeah, I mean,
how do you go
it's
about
in multiple steps, right?
Yeah.
So like the
Yeah,
very
correct.
first step is just solidifying the idea. And that's kind of why I write out like the purpose, and then I
Correct.
present it to people to get their ideas, right? Like this isn't the first version of this, right? Well, every time I talk to somebody and they hear it, and they usually like will offer like, oh yeah, that's good, but maybe it needs a little bit more of this, or maybe it needs a little bit more of this. And because it started off as just to holistically develop young people to realize their passions, right? And then somebody was like, oh, well, you need to include in like, why do they need to realize their passions? I'm like, oh, that's a good question, right? And you think about, I'm like, well, why? It's so that they can take responsibility, right? Not just like for themselves, right? Take responsibility for yourself, right? Like you work, you learn, but it's all with the purpose of you becoming an independent person that's well-informed, and you go out into the world. And the more independent, well-informed people that go out into the world, the better our democracy is going to be, right?
Yeah, but being independent is after you know what you need to do, right? It's like education tells them that, teach them that. But without that in the school environment, wouldn't you think that's hard to do?
No, I'm not
Yeah.
arguing
Oh,
for
okay.
getting rid of schools.
Oh, okay.
Right? What I'm arguing for is for coming up with a purpose for education.
Okay.
Like, why are we doing this? Right? Like, and if you go on to the California Department of Education website, it just says their purpose is to educate. I'm like, well, that's just circular reasoning, right? If you go into the State Board of Education, and the president has like their own mission statement, but that mission statement changes every time we get a new superintendent.
Correct.
Right? So because that changes every few years, like that's why we have education going in this direction, and in this direction, and in this direction. And then at the teacher level, it just feels so frenetic, right? Like I don't know what to expect in the next few years. Right. And some of the decisions, I'm like, I don't know if this is necessarily a good decision for the students. Right. So I guess that's why I have this purpose, because I want something that doesn't matter who the State Board of Education president is,
Correct.
that it doesn't matter who the bureaucrats are that come in and start running things, like that they have something that they can point to as going like, that's what we're trying to achieve right there. Right. and we're going to use this purpose to kind of like make our decisions and like what policies we're going to make for schools or for like or advice that we're going to give to to local districts.
But that's good too, because ideas are good,
Mm-hmm.
different ideas. And so it is good for our education. That's why they always change, right?
Well, like I don't know if that's necessarily true. When you
Shift
look
from,
at like, all right, we are doing poorly as a state in our education system,
I agree.
right? So I think we're ranked 40th according to U.S. World News Report of all the states, and but we're like I think 18th or 19th in spending. So we're spending a lot to get very little results in the state of California. Now, if you, that's just with us within the United States, and then you look at the United States on the world stage. On the world stage, we're like our test scores are way below anyone else's, right? Like in our math scores, we're behind. Like we're actually
Yes.
we're deficient, right? And this is not good. So we're like doing poorly as a state in a country that's doing poorly in general. And when I look at other countries that do well, so when I look at places like Finland, like Canada, like Australia, like Singapore, even like a jurisdiction like Shanghai, all of them have a set purpose for their education, right? This is what we're trying to do, right? And they have different things in them. It's not like all of their purposes are the same, right? So you look at the purpose of education for Singapore, they focus a lot on morality, right? Whereas you look at the purpose of education in some place like Finland, and for them, it's more about like becoming an independent person, right? So it doesn't have to be the same thing. It just has to be something. And because we don't have anything, I feel like that's why our education system is not doing well. Do you see what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
And would you reach out to the people who are involved in this up there in Board of Education?
Yeah. So I'm trying to reach out to people, anyone that I can, including
Oh,
yourself,
thank
right?
you. Thank you for that.
And, like I had State Senator Josh Newman, and I'm trying to reach out to people that are more like in the policy area to kind of say like, hey, this is a problem that I see. I'm trying to use my voice, like I said
Sure.
earlier, right? And saying like if we want to improve things, we need a target that's not going to be changing from time to time. We just need a target, right? Now, with time, if we feel like, all right, this no longer serves our purpose, we can change it. That's good, but we just need something in there, right?
Correct.
So that we can unify ourselves towards a common goal, right? Because right now, as a teacher, or when I was a teacher, I didn't know what the goal was, right? Like I got like standards that kept getting more and more
Of course,
complicated,
standards.
like
Yeah.
sent to me. And then like I have these state tests, and then they were connected to the money that we were getting, and then now they're not. And then I don't really know what the purpose of them is. We're supposed to be collecting data, but I don't know where this data goes. I've never seen it. Like it seems like we're all getting ranked, and the ranking is like a punishment. So if we're ranked poorly as a school, we're basically getting punished because nobody's going to send their students to us, right?
Correct.
Which is a bad way of running things, because the goal, like if you look at these good education systems, yes, they will test their schools, and they'll look at numbers, and they'll collect data. But the purpose of doing all that is always to improve the school, not to publish it, and then so that people can decide, oh, that's a bad school. No, it's always with the purpose of like, we're going to analyze this. We're going to see what we can improve. We're going to bring in resources to improve these schools, right? And so there's a lot of decisions that are being made that I'm like, it's creating friction. And that's why our education system is not doing well. And we need to get rid of all this friction, right? If we want to like be able to work well.
Yes.
Yeah. And so that's the purpose. That's why I'm trying to promote this.
Yes. And I'm glad you are. And I'm sorry that you went through things that are not acceptable in the education process. But you as a person can make a difference, can do this. And we have to do it one step at a time. And I will be with you if you need help.
Yeah,
I'll
that'd
be
be
there
great.
for you, you know. Um, I may not be as experienced as you are in teaching or in getting in touch with a lot of people and with the global learning, but we can start somewhere. You know,
Yeah.
it takes one person to
Yeah.
make a difference.
Exactly.
And I think that's you.
All right. Thank you very much. All right, Agnes. This has been a really great interview. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us, and I found it really interesting, and I think the audience is going to find it really interesting as well. Yeah, and yeah, it was great talking to you, and I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me, and I hope I make a difference to someone's life and by listening to my life story and be positive. That's all I can say. Be positive, be kind.
Yeah.
To others. It always helps because you never know the last person you meet will make a difference in their lives. So you touch their lives with a positive attitude.
Yeah, and you know, at the very least, I think people will see that you're coming at this from a really nice place in your heart.
And your idea is good, so it starts with you.
Okay.
And I can see that going worldwide and making a difference to the education that you wanna present.
Yeah. Thank you.